So I'd like to start by really just raising this question, which is something that people often ask me, which is, does the phrase sustainable business refer to a business that contributes to environmental sustainability, or is it really a business that will stand the test of time? And for me, it's both, and that's what I'd really like to talk about today. So as Tim Smith of the Eden Project said, sustainability is not about sandals and nut cutlets, it's about good business practice and the citizenship values of the future. And probably for a lot of people who are really focused on sustainability, the Eden Project epitomises it, and it really shows that being sustainable is good for business. The Eden Project generated £1.9 billion into the British economy. So in terms of things I'd like to cover off, I'd just like to sort of set the scene for the challenge that we are facing in terms of sustainability, look at who's doing anything about it and what they're doing, really address what a sustainable business is, and then just run through 8 simple steps that can make your business more sustainable. And actually that's something we've come up with an acronym, because we love acronyms, which is PROGRESS, and I will talk through that at the end about the steps that you can take, large and small. So just to set the scene, I wanted to play a short video.
Bosu Shami Yami, Mami Yami, Freedom City, Shami Yami, Freedom Town, Shami Yami, Freedom County, Shami Yami, Agubuleshe, Kati Sharongo. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome. Welcome to Sodom Hoy. Welcome Sodom Hoy. I'm a rabba Sodom Hoy. Bibela Sodom hustle pump. Every day hustle for Sodom. Anytime hustle for Sodom. Every day hustle for town. Gotta go front, don't look your back. Sodom, go front, don't look your back. Sodom, go front, don't look your back. Sodom, baby girl, Jamla Tony, make a you na nyanga. Sweating yama jam Tony, make a you ni baya, Jamla Tony, make a maranina Joe baya, welcome.
So I think you'd all agree that's pretty hard hitting, and that place is called Sodom. It's in Ghana, and it is the biggest electrical waste dump in the world. So my question is, where is your waste going? So who is generating all of that waste? And this is there's a trailer to the film, and some people will say it's propaganda, but I really think it's true, and that is the life for those people, but we are adding to that. And I know we can't solve all the crises in the world and the poverty, but we can do something about it to make sure that we know where our waste is going. So why the urgency? So we're now facing a climate crisis. It's no longer about climate change. We're way beyond that, and we can't reverse the damage that's done. According to the UN, we've got 12 years left to limit the catastrophe that we're facing, and for sure sustainability is no longer a luxury, and it's on the strategic agenda to stay. I think we are making progress, and certainly we see it in our business, where clients are far more aware about sustainability and asking us about how they can be more sustainable, but there's still a lot to do. And as we just mentioned before, we're not ahead of the curve anymore, we're way behind it, and we want to make sure that we don't fall any further behind it. So as Greenpeace say, there is no planet B. So here's some frightening facts. So what if we do nothing? So collectively, as people, we do nothing to help this. What's going to happen? So by 2015, it's estimated that there will be 9 billion people on Earth. Unless we change our consumption habits, we risk creating irreversible damage to the environment through climate change, pollution, and resource depletion. By 2015, in terms of weight, there will be more plastic than fish in the sea, and I'm sure this is something you've all heard about, and you've seen a lot of documentaries and David Attenborough talking about. I mean, plastic is the biggest thing I think people are talking about, but there's so much more than that. Just a few other things. Natural resources are currently being consumed at twice the rate that they're being produced, and by 2015, that could be 3 times. 19.4 billion tons of materials globally classified as waste. Out of that, only 9% is being recycled. So we all think we're doing good by putting out our recycling boxes and putting our plastic and our waste in that. Only about 9% of that actually goes to be recycled. Most of it's going to waste centres and incinerators and landfill. Sadly, 4 in 5 plastic toys end up in landfill, waste incinerators or the ocean. 60% of the building stock expected by 2050 has not been built yet, and building materials constitute half of all solid waste generated. So imagine how much more waste there is to come. Over 11 million tons of recyclable clothing make their way to landfill every year, and it takes 1,000 years for a shoe to break down. I think a lot of these facts people just aren't aware of. You know, you send something, you think it's going somewhere, but it's not really going where it should be going. So what does sustainability in business really mean? So, of course, it's about the environment and the planet around us, but it's so much more than that. It's not just about being environmentally friendly. And for us, it's about people, planet, and profit. So it's about people, it's about your team, the people that work for you, their health and well-being, your stakeholders, your clients, their aspirations. So people are a massive factor in sustainability. And then it's about the longevity of your business and the profit you make to sustain it, to keep it going long term in what we know is a really challenging time. So what we're hearing a lot about now is the circular economy. So this is kind of really where we want to get to if we're thinking about sustainability. So the circular economy is an alternative to what we typically have here in the UK, which is very much a linear economy. We make things, we use them, and we throw them away. So that is what is causing a lot of our waste. The circular economy is about keeping resources in use for as long as possible, extracting the maximum value from them, reusing them, recovering and regenerating products and materials at the end of life. So we've gone away from the make, use and dispose, and now we're looking at make, use, reuse, repair, repurpose, recycle. So I just want to show you some companies that are doing this, that have already started doing it. And I realise there's a lot of smaller businesses here, and some of these examples are about large corporations, but it's really just starting to think about whatever business you have, how can you make your economy within the business more circular than linear and reducing what you're just getting rid of. So Adidas have just released the first, it's in a beta program at the moment, but it's the first 100% recyclable performance running shoe with zero waste. So this shoe was made to be remade. So it's made from polyurethane, completely possible to break it down again into pellets. So you use it, when it wears out, you send it back to Adidas and they remake it. They melt it down and they make another one. So as Eric Lidker from Adidas said, this is our first running shoe that is made to be remade, and it's a signal of our intent to take responsibility for the entire life of our product. As you can imagine, there are a lot of trainers that are thrown away, so they're really trying to do something about it. There are all sorts of things going on, different trends within the fashion market. So now when we talk about repairing and reusing things, there's a right to repair revolution that's happening, particularly in fashion. So here, this is a company called Wool Fillers, and when you get holes in jumpers or rips or tears or elbows, you know, we're almost going back to sort of a bit more of an old-fashioned principles of darning stuff and making things, you know, patches and stuff to fill the holes rather than just throwing things away or sending it to charity. There's also, this is quite a new thing, but now there's the peer-to-peer wardrobe rental, so you can actually go and rent clothes. So buy the things that you really love and borrow the things that you just need for a one-off event or because you fancy giving something a go. And this is becoming really popular, particularly in the US with a company called Tuileries. And then in September this year, My Wardrobe HQ is launching in the UK. And they will even have an app where you can go on, decide what you want to borrow, get it, send it back. So some of the big brands are really doing something, and I think IKEA are doing a fantastic job of tackling the whole of the climate crisis as best they can. So they are looking at rental furniture. So you don't just need to buy anything from me now, they're launching a program where you can actually rent it rather than purchase. So that solves a problem. If you just want something temporarily, you can do it. And IKEA have said that it won't be called sustainability in the future because it's already an outdated term, and hopefully this is what will just become normal for us all as we move through the years. Another example, so Samsonite have created a backpack that is completely made from recycled plastic bottles. So basically they turn them into a yarn that they can spin the backpacks out of. It's also impacting sort of home interiors, so you can also rent things that you might want to have in your home. So there's a company called Hearth who are British based, and you can go and rent anything that you want to put in your home. In Japan there's a term which is motenai, and this is what conveys regret over being wasteful and encourages, and if you know anything about Japan, they are one of the countries that's really focused on waste, and they feel very determined to do something about it. It's really inherent in their rituals. So here's some examples of what they're doing. So they have launched a Motenai Kids Festival in Japan. So they're trying to encourage children to think about this circular economy. So they'll take all their things that they don't want anymore and they'll go and sell them or swap them, and they learn about money and what it is to have money, and that you can't just have everything that you want in life. And this is also from Japan, but it's something that they're doing in Holland. So HuMade are looking to bring back a traditional Japanese method for fixing things. So when you break that, beautiful vase that you had for your wedding that you really loved, and you try and piece it back together with super glue and it never works, now you can buy this kit, which is the Dutch version of kintsugi, which is actually gold. So you're repairing something with gold, and actually, I have to say, I think they look pretty good. So it doesn't look like you've got that horrible glue anymore, but you've got gold, and it's almost a new piece of art. So I'm just going to move on to the 8 simple steps. So all of those things kind of set the scene for the crisis that we're facing, people, big brands that are doing things to help it. But what can we do, as majority of us here are from smaller businesses? So I'm just going to talk through progress, which stands for purpose, resource, ordinary, greatness, redress the balance, exceed, success, and share and shout. I don't expect anybody to remember all of that. But if we remember progress, it's a really good start. So let's look at purpose first of all. So if you want to be a more sustainable business, first of all, you have to think about why you're doing it. So what do you want to do? Set yourself a goal for the things that you want to be able to achieve. Certainly a sustainability strategy provides incentive for continuous improvement and will keep you going along the way on your journey. I realise all businesses are different and have different resources in terms of people and budget that they want to do to that, but this doesn't have to be expensive. You can just do the best that you can. So you can use a maturity matrix to look at where you are today and where you want to be at the end of the year. And there's a huge scale within that. That could just be saving energy, becoming sort of plastic free, having the recycle bins in the business, offsetting emissions, and that can then go right through to, how could you in your business, are you manufacturing something? Could you increase the product lifetime of what you're producing? Do you want to achieve some of the environmental standards? And do you want to become an advocate? So I think you can choose anything on that, and what I've learned going through all the standards that we have is any auditor will always say, just do your best, and if you're doing that, you're in a good place. Make sure you have deadlines in your plan, and make sure that you're not overstretching yourself, because nobody wants to fail. So then the next step is really assigning resource, and a sustainable strategy means that you're taking the long-term health of your business very seriously. Decide how much money you want to commit to it and get a team together. There are so many people out there naturally that are really interested in what's going on in the world, so they are often the best people to get together to address sustainability in your business. Make sure it's communicated and that you're encouraging involvement from everybody in the company. And really, to be sustainable, it needs to become part of the DNA of the business. It's true that data shows that employees now, and this is something that I've seen move up the scale of what people want them when they join a business, they really care about purpose. We're seeing that a lot more in the younger generation now, and they want to work for a company that actively addresses the environment and social impact. And not only does it attract talent, but it also helps you keep people that have been with you a long time. So what are the kinds of things you could look at? We call this ordinary because these are the day-to-day things. So this is about acting small. What are the things we can look at? What are the quick wins? Because those are the ones you should tackle first. And that could be recycling, energy consumption, food composting, packaging and distribution, thinking about offsetting emissions, encouraging staff to think sustainably. So don't buy those cartons of milk anymore. Go back to the old-fashioned glass bottles. Don't use plastic bottles of water. Get jugs of water for when you've got visitors coming into your office. And then start to think about everybody that works within your business, so within your stakeholders and your supply chain. What are they doing? What are the materials that they're providing you with, or what you're using? And then ultimately, where does your waste go? And that's something actually that you can easily track if you have recycling in the company. Then we start to think big. So this is the G from progress. This is greatness. So really, this is now starting to think out of the box, and what can you do to get on that circular economy? So how can you develop your business model to be more sustainable and long-lasting? Can you increase the length of client contracts? Can you think differently about contracts? If you're employing people, you want to make sure that you can give them a career for a long time. Do you have a retention strategy for your clients and for your people? And do you have such things as well-being policies? We run things like boot camps for our company, and that really just gets people, motivated. It's really good for a team, and then people are doing some good exercise as well. Do you have a future strategy for the people that you're really competing against? Let's face it, we're going into a very different world now, not just in terms of sustainability, but in terms of technology. Artificial intelligence is real, it's going to happen, and what are you doing to make sure that you're ahead of that curve and going to be around for a long time? Can you re-engineer anything? If you have a product or a service, can you make it different, that it's more sustainable focused, and then it's good for the environment and it's good for the profit of the business? So ultimately, can you really find the wealth in waste? Because this is what about. If you want your business to be sustainable and profitable, it's thinking about the waste as a whole and where's the money in that. Could you rent instead of selling, buying, selling, and look at cost reduction programs in the business to get the profit better? Supply chain I've talked about a little bit before, but for me this is where education is so important. Whoever you're working with in your supply chain really need to understand what you expect of them. So demand more of your suppliers and make sure that if you're going to be sustainable, they have to be sustainable. So they have to understand what you're trying to do. And the responsibility for sustainability lies with everybody in the supply chain. This is a massive crisis. Nobody can solve it on their own, but if we all do something, it's going to be easier. Running supplier workshops is a great thing as well, and helping your suppliers to become better at sustainability. And I realise things like accreditations can be expensive for small businesses, but for example, when we work with small businesses, we just share what we do, and we expect our suppliers to act in the same way and have the same principles, but we don't necessarily expect them to go through all the ISO standards, because we realise for some of them that's just not achievable. So exceed. So this is about keep improving. So you can't stand still on this. So you need to really make sure that you're moving the strategy forward. So setting regular review dates for what you're doing. Always have a stretch target. So no matter what, just make sure there's something that's maybe slightly out of your reach, but you know it's realistic. Add new targets if you're ahead of schedule. And just keep up to date with what's going on in sustainability. Have somebody that's responsible for sort of checking the news and different sustainability publications. Brainstorm with your team to see what else you can be doing. And what are people doing at home? See if you can make sure that they're taking all of the sort of education you're giving them around sustainability and putting that into their personal lives and their home lives. And then find like-minded businesses that you can network with and learn from as well. So after success, you want to measure it. So really, has what you've been doing been worth it? And if it has, then publicize it and analyze the impact on your business, measure the financial rewards that you should be getting, and see what difference it's made to employees. What are their motivation levels like? You could do employee opinion surveys and get feedback. And have clients noticed a difference? Because I know for sure with our clients, they certainly notice a difference in the things that we do. If we get new clients join us that have come from businesses that aren't sustainable, they see an immediate impact, not only on what the service provision and the product that we supply, but also in terms of the cost savings that they make over a number of years working with us. And if you're having success, then why not celebrate and reward it? Because that's great for everybody in the company. Which leads me on to this one, which is about sharing and shouting about it. Now this is something that we traditionally as a company were not good at. We really didn't shout about it, and probably we should have been doing this 5 years ago. But it's so important because the pro-environmental practices of a business really create positive brand associations amongst consumers, clients, suppliers, and it's really good for business. It's about your reputation. And let's face it, if you're doing something good in today's world, everybody's going to like it. You can use PR to enhance your business growth. It's good for team motivation, and you can position clients favorably by knowing what's coming. Being innovative within a company promotes more innovation, and you can even go for industry awards and the standards and then ultimately become an advocate. But you have to decide where you want to be. So just in terms of a summary of the 8 steps. So P for purpose. R is thinking about the resource and the people in your company. O is acting small, thinking about the little things you can do. G is thinking big and about those out-of-the-box type of different things that you would need to invest time and money in. R is about redressing the balance and thinking about the whole supply chain and all of your stakeholders. E is about exceeding, keep improving. Continuous improvement is good for every business, and make sure you are positioning yourself to be there in 10 years' time. Success, measure everything that you do and share it with your team, and I really think that's something important. If people know you're being successful, it makes them feel good. And then finally, share and shout. So make sure people know that you're working really hard on all of this. Okay, so remember, think progress. Okay, so as I said, we should all be doing something really to do our bit. And there's just 2 little things I'd like to show you really quickly. So this is the Holy Grail. This is where we need to be. It's a massive challenge, but this is transactive energy. So this is where you can have a whole village, town, community working together to really focus on the challenges we have. So somebody has a solar panel on their house, somebody has a battery, and somebody has an electric car. And together they can self-sustain by providing energy to one another on the surplus energy that they generate through their renewable sources. So there's a lot of research going on this, but I think, we've all seen it in films, but I think these times are going to be here before we know it. And just one last thing. So what can you do as an individual? This is a really easy one. So wearing a clothing item 50 times instead of 5 reduces carbon emissions by 400% per item per year. So when you buy something, make sure that you really want it and wear it. And I know we've all done it. We bought something, we've left it, we bought it, we don't really like it anymore. It sits in the cupboard, wardrobe, it has the labels on it, it goes to the charity shop. Just think what kind of impact that's having on the environment. That's it. Thank you.